Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and leaving comments below. So today's topic is something that has been on my mind. So most of you who are familiar with the channel know I've been divorced twice. And the second time, it was due to adultery, infidelity on my wife's part. So she had an affair with a coworker. And I talked about this in a previous video, and maybe I'll link it at the end or in the description box or both. So she had an affair with a coworker. And so this is a guy who basically she would come home and talk about him. They worked in the same office, and she worked in largely an almost exclusively all-male office. And so she was, she's the pretty girl, the pretty little girl, because she's younger than most of these guys. And, this one guy who was working in another department kind of transferred in to where she was working. And, she knew him from working in the same organization. So she had familiarity with him. But, they started kind of hanging out at work, the work husband thing. And most of you guys out there already know that, these women largely have their affairs at work. I mean, people meet at work. Both men and women, obviously, because it takes two to tangle. The two to tango and two to tangle. Anyway, so she met this guy, and when she first was getting to know him, she kind of described him as a loser, and I think that was actually her own words about him, that he had problems with stuff that stimulants that people put up their nose, that he had problems dating, and he was dating fatties, and but he was a nice guy, such a nice guy, and that she was going to try and set him up or something. Yeah, she was going to try and set him up, all right. So anyway, so this guy obviously inserted himself into her life and texting, and how it starts with joking and kind of messing around, horsing around, and then it leads to messing around, and before you know it, she's out the door. I totally blame her for the entire thing, obviously, because she was the one who took vows. She was the one who was bound to the marriage, and if she didn't want to be married, nobody, was forcing her to be married, never did. As a matter of fact, that's all what she wanted. She pursued me. She wanted to marry me. She even set the date and so on and so forth. So she didn't want any of that. She had ample opportunity to call it quits. As a matter of fact, even after we were married, if she wanted a divorce, I'd have been happy to grant her a divorce. Because it was far from a party on my side. I really suffered in that relationship. At any rate, so getting back to this guy. So this guy, what does it, I guess, say about a man who inserts himself into somebody else's life? Like, I mean, she even took my dogs. Like, he always talked about the dogs, like how great the dogs were and stuff. Like, you can't get your own dogs. Like, what does that say about a man and a lack of self-respect and self-worth that you have to literally take over another man's life? Like, take another man's wife, take another man's dogs, try and take another man's house. I mean, they were trying to get me to move out of the house. Yeah, okay. Why don't you just move out so that, is just like instant family, just add this chump and, you've got yourself an instant family. Trying to ingratiate himself right away with my son, who was not really having any of it. And, to the point where he tried to insert himself physically on my son. And to be honest with you, if my son's a pretty easygoing kid. I know that he lets stuff go when he is with his mom and her boyfriend. And that's not really my style. Like, I don't let stuff go. I can be pretty confrontational when I need to be. I don't go out and seek it, but I mean, if people are going to start it, but I think it speaks to a man's lack of self-esteem and inferiority complex that you're, he's just an average looking guy. So he's nothing special to look at physically. He's not, he doesn't have any kind of physique or anything. There's nothing special about him. He's not particularly bright. So some of that you could say, well, this guy, but I'm an average guy too. I mean, I have an average build. I'm an average guy. Now I'm an old average guy. And I still manage to, pull women. So there's not really an excuse why a guy in that situation should have to steal somebody else's life, basically. But this is the America that we're confronted with today, and frankly, it's been that way for generations now. I don't really understand the phenomenon. I mean, I guess maybe because I have more self-respect for myself and I hold myself in higher esteem than that. But why should I have to insert myself into somebody else's life? Like, why would you want that? Like, why would you want to be raising somebody else's kids or helping to raise somebody else's kids? Like, I don't understand that. But so I'd like to know other people's thoughts on this. I mean, to be honest with you, I hear sometimes lots of talk on YouTube and so on about not dating single moms. And this is something that comes up is, single moms are not, they're not looking for love. They're looking for help. You're just basically a walking ATM, and a babysitter, a live-in babysitter. If that's what it comes to. So I was curious about other people's thoughts about this, and what would make somebody want to date a single mom. And this guy, my ex's boyfriend, is was never married and didn't have any kids of his own, as far as I know. So why would you want to insert yourself into somebody else's family? I don't understand that. But maybe we can talk about it. Please feel free to leave comments down below. I appreciate your listening. I appreciate any comments, all of your consideration. Please think about liking and subscribing, and I will see you down the road.